How's this for heaven on earth? A place where there are no cars, where everything you need is handy enough to walk to, where everyone knows everyone else, and where no one pays any income tax at all. Well, such a place does exist, the tiny island of Sark, where the good old days have been around since 1565. Hardly anything has changed since then, which means for the last 400 years, Sark has been stuck in a time warp. And the 500 people who live there now, they wouldn't have it any other way. Sunday on Sark. And almost the only thing moving is the fog. This is the quietest day of the week on what is one of the quietest places on Earth. Sark might be located in the middle of the English Channel, but it's stuck in the Middle Ages. When things do move around here, they're generally out of step with the rest of the world. This place is run by a system so out of date that it's become a tourist attraction in itself. Not only are cars totally banned from the island, but this being Sunday, you're not even allowed to ride a horse. That is, unless you're going to church. Come Monday morning, Sark springs back to life, but stubbornly refuses to have anything to do with the 20th century. The island even has its own language, and like most things on Sark, that too is out of date.
A lot of the old stages pass away and the language isn't handed down or not used by the younger people.
These days, less than 30 people in the whole world can speak to John Heyman in his own language.
Might not ever die out completely, but there'll be very few using it. There's very few now.
But if you think Sark's totally cut off from the rest of the world, think again. This is the invasion of the Grockles. Each year, 70,000 tourists, Grockles to the locals, come here simply because Sark is so far out of date, it's fashionable.
It's not a new one, it's just the first one from after the war.
Oh, this is the first one?
Yeah, horse-drawn they had that during the occupation.
Mm-hmm. Do you like what you found here?
Well, it's smashing so far.
Sark, at first glance, seems to be more English than England. Yet, it is an independent state.
Well, we don't live in England. We're not part of the United Kingdom.
Michael Beaumont is more than just an English gentleman. He's in fact a senor, the Senor of Sark. Tell me, what is a senor, and do I pronounce it properly?
Senor, senor, yes. It's a feudal title. It just means lord, of course, as in lord of the manor.
How do you become one?
You inherit it. Yes.
And this is what Michael Beaumont inherited. The whole island of Sark. 3 miles by 1 mile of what Swinburne called a small, sweet world of wave-encompassed wonder.
I own all the streams, I own all the foreshores, and so on. I have right to go, because I'm the overall landlord, the right to walk over anybody's land anytime I please. I hold the island from the Crown for a rent. And all the tenors, all the landowners here own their land from me. And they owe me certain obligations. They have to provide me with 1 man armed with a musket for the defence of the island.
Any particular calibre of musket?
No.
Just a musket.
Just a musket, yes.
This is the seigneury, Michael Beaumont's house. But he doesn't own it, he rents it from Her Majesty the Queen. And it seems that the landlady has given him a pretty good deal.
It's never been raised in 400 years, so it's still £1.79, I think the figure is. Yeah.
£1,
79 pence.
I see. And do you actually write out a cheque each year for that?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Indeed, I do.
Then there are the traffic regulations. This is the main street, and it's one way for horse traffic and the other way for tractors. If you want to know why, you go to the Chief Constable, Trevor Kendall, who has an explanation that only a Sarkee could understand.
Tractors coming up from the Harbour Hill are allowed to travel east to west. Horses, on the other hand, because they're stood at the end of the Harbour Hill, they're there for a long time, and when they set off on their trips, their natural functions start to operate.
Droppings.
And they do their deposits along the other way.
So nothing to do with traffic at all. It's
Nothing at all.
Just to stop the horse droppings. Trevor Kendall isn't just the Chief Constable. He runs the local power station and just about everything else, including the public service. How many employees do you have?
The island itself has 4 full-time employees. They look after the harbours, the cliff paths, the roads, the cemeteries, and any general repairs that need doing for the maintenance of the island.
You've got 4 people to maintain the whole island?
Yeah.
That means that there's yet another job for Trevor Kendall. He's governor, chief warder, in fact, the entire staff of the Sark Penitentiary. For 12 months you've been in the job, have you ever locked anyone up?
Well, last year, yes, we had a marauding Frenchman last year who wanted to lay claim to the island. He arrived here armed with a .222 automatic rifle, claiming to be the rightful heir to the seigneury, and yes, we took a little bit of apprehending before we managed to get him locked away.
That French attack was the second invasion to slip through the Sark Defence Force. In 1940, the Germans occupied the island.
One never realised it was going to be 5 years.
Michael Beaumont's grandmother was the seigneur at the time, and she refused to budge.
We never realised that we were going to have mines put down everywhere, and all our troubles with fishing, no petrol for the boats, and all the difficulties we had, so that we came very near starvation towards the end.
In diesem Schloss wohnte früher der Lord of Sark.
She wasn't frightened of anybody or anything, least of all the Germans, so as much as possible she kept them more or less under control anyway.
It was the Dame who banned cars from the island, although she did bend the rules a little in her old age. Today, the whole island rejoices in its horse and cart image.
What do you need to start, car for in Sark?
Well, why wouldn't you even let the doctor have a cart?
Well, that'll be the start of the end. I mean, let's keep Sark as it is. I mean, if he can't get round on a bike, let's get a new doctor.
So Sark continues to be the only country in the world with no road toll, no traffic lights, a speed limit of 15 kilometres an hour, and virtually no air pollution. Well, hardly any. Have you ever driven a car yourself?
I have done, yes. At least it's fresh.
It's fresh air, yes, you're right.
Come on.
This is all that remains of the boom of 1824, when silver was discovered here on Sark. Only 2 ships are said to have ever left the island carrying ore, and one is thought to have been taken by pirates. The other one disappeared without trace, and with it, so did the fortune of the then seigneur. His creditors foreclosed on him, and that's how the family of the present seigneur, Michael Beaumont, came to acquire the island. They tend to go broke here every 150
They
years.
do, yes, it's very worrying. Perfectly right, yes. It hasn't gone without me noticing that, yes.
Are times tough?
Pardon?
Are times tough?
They're not too bad at the moment, but I keep watching.
Well, I've had a bit of a look around. What would you sell it for?
Not for sale at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Even if Michael Beaumont could be persuaded to sell, he'd pay no tax on his profit. It's not that there are no taxes on Sark.
There is a tax.
It's just that they are levied in a very Sark fashion.
There's a sort of capital tax.
About £30 a
Visible
year.
wealth tax. Oh, we'd charge you much more than that. You look very wealthy.
Well,
It's a visible wealth tax, you know.
What is a visible wealth tax?
Well, that's what it is. That's what our tax system is based on. It's based on, instead of income, it's based on capital. But as we don't have a bureaucracy, we can't actually get you to fill in a form to say how much money you've got. We guess it.
How much is it, 6 and 6 a week or something?
Well, it's going up. It's nearly £30. It's getting pretty steep.
My heart bleeds for you. Sark may be a tax haven, but life here has hardly been heaven on earth for the women. As the wife of the Senor, that makes you a Senoretta.
No, I don't know. Lots of things I've been suggested, but I don't actually have any title at all. No.
Do you have any special powers?
No, none at all.
None at all?
No, absolutely not.
In fact, until recently, the Senor's wife and all the other married women on Sark had virtually no rights at all. But have you got your own bank account?
Oh, yes, I have now. Since 1975, we can have our own bank accounts. Because till then, married women had no rights at all. They had no rights to any possessions at all. And everything they owned was automatically belonged to their husband, as the law stood then.
Not a bad system.
No, it wasn't. No, it was a very bad system, I thought.
Now, if the no cars, no tax, no worries state appeals to you and you're thinking of moving, then there is a catch.
Anybody who comes to live here can only stay for so many months without getting my consent to stay.
OK, could I come and live here?
Anybody can come and live here. You wouldn't be allowed to buy a property here, I don't
I've
think.
got lots of money, why can't I?
I'm not quite sure of your status.
Oh, I've got an Australian passport. Well, it was half an opening. I do get on well enough with the bank manager, so I thought that I'd have one more try. And just finally, you sure you don't want to sell?
I'm sure I don't want to sell. Yes, I'm perfectly happy here, thank you.
Will you bear me in mind?
I'm saving it for my son now, yes.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.